Whenever you come to devotees, you just lit up the mood.
The real secret of happiness is what?
You're always jolly and happy and calm and composed.
Even though I may not be joyful sometimes, but still as a service to the Vaishnavas, it is always better to be joyful.
Although so many anxieties are there, still we have to be jolly.
More difficult to follow than the word of God is to follow the will of the devotees. The opportunity to serve the devotees is the greatest privilege.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. It's like a mini lecture. I felt like I should take notes now. I'll take notes later.
No, you are not. You will publish books on this.
Thank you.
Certain episodes will happen in life which is beyond your control. And if you just become angry, then you are just opening your doors to tamogun.
Devotee may face some discomforts, inconveniences, difficulties, scarcity. Devotee should move on in service.
So sometimes the ego becomes the barrier in hearing advice. Best form of correction, person themselves realize that we made some mistakes.
Whenever you give Krishna Katha, a stream of Bengali verses just come out. So how do you remember so many Chaitanya Charitamrita verses?
I have heard the maximum Chaitanya Charitamrita from His Holiness Radharani Swami Maharaj. And when he distributes, he gives the garland of prema strung on the thread of Harinam.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to SADHU VARTA Podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to learn from the experiences of so many devotees who have given their life to the process of spreading Krishna consciousness. Every devotee who spends so many years in bhakti and contributes in the service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada is a storehouse of realizations. And it's an opportunity for us to learn from their wisdom. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's mentioned, Nantam vidamyahamami munayograjaste maya balasya purushasya kuto varaye gayan gunandasha shatanana adideva seshodhunapi samavasyati nasya param. This shloka describes how Anantasesh glorifies Krishna with millions of mouths for such a long time. And in the Ramayana, it's mentioned about Hanumanji, Ramarthan Vanararthancha Chikirsham Karma Dushkaram Samudrasya Paramparam Dushparam Praptumichhati. Although it is very difficult to cross this ocean of Lanka, Hanumanji was prepared to jump across this Lanka ocean and find Sita Devi and give the good news to Lord Ramachandra. And Hanumanji has performed so many such services to the Lord by bringing Sanjeevani mountain and also assisting the Lord in building this bridge across the Lanka ocean. So we see Hanumanji as a great example of rendering service and Anantadev a great example of glorifying the Lord. And today we are going to meet a devotee who is profusely blessed by Ananta to glorify the Lord and also profusely blessed by Hanumanji. He can perform great tasks in the service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada. He is none other than our legendary Gauranga Prabhu, very dear to our hearts. And he is the member of GBC, ISKCON GBC. He is the director of Govardhan Ecovillage. And you know many other things about him. But I'll not spend so much time introducing him. We want to hear more of his realizations. So Prabhu, before I ask anything about your sadhana, seva and realizations, just one question. Whenever you come to devotees in a group, you just lit up the mood. You're always jolly and happy and calm and composed. How do you maintain that jolliness and happiness when you come to a managerial meeting, when some heated up discussion is going on? Just your mere presence will lit up the mood and devotees feel so enlivened and happy with your presence. So what makes you always be very happy despite having so many responsibilities and anxieties?
Thank you very much, Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, for inviting me for this podcast. And first of all, I want to congratulate you for naming this podcast Sadhu Varta, because the Srimad Bhagavatam very much glorifies this discussion on Krishna and Krishna's pastimes and Krishna's devotees. Parasparanukathanam pavanam bhagavat yasha mithaharati mitahatushti nivritta mitha atmana. People in this world are looking for some satisfaction, some pleasure, and that pleasure finds its pinnacle when the devotees come together and glorify Krishna and exchange the different qualities of Krishna and reflections on Krishna's amazing, wonderful reciprocation with his devotees. So, Pavanam, it is also very purifying to the heart and satisfying to the soul. So, I would say that His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, by establishing International Society for Krishna Consciousness, has given us a very wonderful, amazing platform where we can actually spend time hearing and chanting the glories of Krishna and Krishna's devotees. And therefore, as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to quote this verse many times, Jnanavalambaka kechit kechit karmavalambakaha aham tu haridasanam padatrana avalambaka. Some people take shelter of karma, some people take shelter of jnana, but I take shelter of the dust of the lotus feet of devotees. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada, by creating this ISKCON society, has given us constant shelter of service to the devotees, which is always available. And this association of devotees is the greatest benediction. The opportunity to serve the devotees is the greatest privilege. And through this, we get the opportunity of quickly entering into Krishna's hearts and pleasing Krishna. So that is also the greatest source of pleasure for the practicing devotee. And therefore, when we are engaged in activities of Krishna consciousness, the most important principle is we begin with our intention. The whole spiritual practice is not about changing your actions. Actions will change when it is aligned with the right intention, and therefore Srila Rupa Goswami Pad gives the definition of Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavratam. So once you change and transform your intention, and the intention is to please Krishna and Krishna's devotees, then automatically everything else follows as per that intention. So when you have purity in your intention, which is not to serve based out of fear or desire, but at least you come to the level of duty, and the best would be we serve out of a sense of feeling of love. When there is purity in intention, then there is powerful consistency in the inspiration. When there is inspiration to serve, then there is clarity in intelligence. And once there is clarity in intelligence, then there is consistency in one's integrity. And when you have integrity in place, then you can actually have intensity in your actions to serve. And the intensity basically means, although there may be troubles, although there may be difficulties and challenges, but one remembers the original reason why we started serving. The intention is not for my pleasure, the intention is for Krishna's pleasure. So therefore, the principle of Krishna consciousness is not to change our functions, but it is to change our focus. And we change our focus from my personal pleasure and my ego to Krishna and for Krishna's pleasure. Shushyantim rudatim ekam dhyana shoka parayanim ekasya dukkhasyantam na pashyantim ramam ramam anubratam. Sita Devi, she is in a difficult situation in Ashoka Vatika. Interestingly, that Vatika is known as Ashoka Vatika, where Sita Devi was subjected to a lot of challenges and difficulty. But in reality, Sita Devi was actually without any shoka. Although there were causes for shoka from outside, but from within, Sita Devi's consciousness was ashoka. She was jolly. So, the reason is described here. Shushyantim, that she was subjected to a lot of torture. Rudatim, she was crying. Ekam, she was alone. Dhyana, and she was constantly meditating on how this situation came about and how I am separated from my husband forcibly. Shoka Parayanam, and she was kind of, Parayan means she was subjected or surrendered to a situation of lamentation where it was completely helpless situation. Dukkha santamna pashyantim, and although one may be in a difficult situation of dukkha and shoka, but it is intensified further by uncertainty. So uncertainty heats up the already existing, puddle of challenges and difficulties and lamentation we have, and it takes that situation of lamentation to a boil. So dukkha na pashyantim, she could not see the end of when all of these troubles would end, and when would Ram come, when would any help come, will I ever be saved from the effect of attacks of Ravan. But dukkha na pashyantim Ramam, but her internal consciousness was, she was in ecstasy and joy, and she was jolly. Ramam. And why she was Ramam, why she was jolly? Because Ramam Anuvratam, because she had surrendered all of her intentions to the lotus feet of Lord Ram's intentions. And she had allowed herself to be subjugated to the will of the Lord. And therefore, to follow the word of God is difficult, but more difficult to follow than the word of God is to follow the will of Krishna's devotees. And when the Krishna's devotees express their will, it's also very challenging because we have to adjust and change our plans. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu demonstrated that by adjusting as per the will of Sachi Mata. When Sachi Mata saw that Lord Chaitanya has taken sannyas and came back to Shantipur by Nityananda Prabhu's tricks, Lord Chaitanya's intention was to go to Vrindavan. But Sachi Mata, she says, Kandiya kohe na shachi bachare nimai, Vishwarupa samana koriha nithurai. Please do not be hard-hearted like Vishwarup. Sannyasi hoiya na dila puna darshan, tumi taiche kaile mora hoibe maran. After taking sannyas, after leaving home, he never gave darshan. If you do like that, I will die. So when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard that, his only intention for taking sannyas was to go and stay in Vrindavan forever and help in redeveloping Vrindavan, recreating Vrindavan, rejuvenating Vrindavan. But Lord Chaitanya, at that point, he considered Sachi Mata's plea and he said, my desire is to stay in Vrindavan, your desire is I should stay in Navadvip, but if I stay in Navadvip as a sannyasi, people may criticize, that will hurt you further. So better that let us find a compromise. And the compromise is Nilachale rahi tabe dui karya hoye tate ei yukti bhala mora maniloy. This in-between solution is very good. So when there is a conflict, then that conflict puts us in a situation of confusion. But that confusion should result in some contemplation. And when there is contemplation, then we can actually find the middle path of cooperation. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided that the path of cooperation, if you're determined to be on the path of cooperation, then you can find the compromise. And so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu compromised and stayed in Jagannath Puri. And therefore, more difficult to follow than the word of God is to follow the will of the devotees. And more difficult to follow than the will of the devotees is to follow the whim of Krishna. Krishna's whim is unpredictable, and anytime any change can happen. So therefore Krishna demonstrated that responsiveness of the Vrajavasis by subjecting them to Indra's torrential rain. And that attack on Braj by Indra and the lifting of Govardhan and the Brajavasis taking shelter of Krishna and being fully satisfied in Krishna's shelter and not at all focused on the adversity of all of their property being subjected to destruction in the deluge, and they were completely blissful and satisfied just in following and surrendering to Krishna's will and happy in just being in a relationship with Krishna. That demonstrates how the Brajavasis were the greatest devotees who could immediately subject themselves to favorably disposing themselves to Krishna's whims. So therefore, Krishna consciousness is the process by which we learn the art of real happiness. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he is with Balabhadra Bhattacharya in the Jharkhand forest, he embraces him and he glorifies him for bringing him through that forest. And he tells him that the real secret of happiness is what? And he says that the ultimate secret of happiness is when one's will is aligned with Krishna's will. Right? And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in greatest joy when he is speaking this. That there is Krishna Kripa Vina Nahi Ar Sukha Hoy. There is nothing else apart from Krishna Kripa. When you see the Krishna's hand behind everything, then that becomes the cause of the greatest joy. And therefore, as practicing devotees, we should always remember that whenever you seek employment, then there is a certain job description and there is a certain expectation. And there is an expectation from the employee's side of what remuneration they will get, and there is an expectation from the employer's side of what job description is given. So when both are matched, then the employer continues to employ the employee for a long period of time, and then we see so many satisfied employees who remain in an organization for long periods of time. In devotional service, we have agreed voluntarily to be employed or engaged in Krishna's seva. Prema dhana vina vyartha daridra jivan dasa kori vetan more deha prema dhan. So we have signed up in service to Krishna and seeking what? Prema dhan, to seek the wealth of prema. And our aspiration to get that prema is so deep and so genuine. Vyartha daridra jivan. If one does not get that prema, we consider everything else daridra. Everything else poverty stricken. Dasa kori. And therefore we agree to become dasa. Vetana more. What will be my remuneration? That premadhan. So we have agreed to be das, and we are looking forward to getting the remuneration and reciprocation of prema. So when we say prema by definition means that we are willing to go through personal pain to give pleasure to Krishna. And that's what basically the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and all the bhakti literatures are describing. So therefore, I would say that the most important reason for being happy and jolly and joyful in Krishna consciousness is to have clear expectations that whenever we come in the association of devotees, we have to be very clear in our expectation that we are here to go through difficulties, challenges, pains, trauma, all kinds of shortcomings, so that inconveniences, scarcity, discomfort, unhappiness, so that we can give pleasure to Krishna. So when you are having alignment in your expectation, then no matter what happens, you are affected for sure, but you continue on in the path with determination. And that's basically what is the life of all the great acharyas who have shown the summit and pinnacle of what that kind of consciousness can be. So even though I may not be joyful sometimes, but still as a service to the Vaishnavas, it is always better to be joyful, so that when the Vaishnavas are very happy to see you joyful, they give their blessings, and by their blessings you actually become joyful. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. It's like a mini lecture, very comprehensive. I felt like I should take notes now. I'll take notes later.
No, you're not note taker. You're a book. You will publish books on this.
Thank you. So, Prabhu, you just quoted that popular purport from Madhavendra Puri episode, where Prabhupada writes, all the devotee may face some discomforts, inconveniences, difficulties, scarcity. Devotee should move on in service. And the crux of your answer is also centered on that. Although so many anxieties are there, still we have to be jolly and derive blessings of the Lord. And you said many things, consistency and all. Oftentimes, when you speak Harikatha, you speak a lot from Chaitanya Charitamrita. You quoted multiple episodes from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, and whenever you give Krishna Katha, a stream of Bengali verses just come out. So, how do you remember so many Chaitanya Charitamrita verses? What's your special connection with Lord Chaitanya's pastimes? So, can you please share your relationship with Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Well, I have heard the maximum Chaitanya Charitamrita from His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So I must give credit to him for giving the inspiration to study and dive deep into Chaitanya Charitamrita. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita itself, Kaviraj Goswami mentions why we should read Chaitanya Charitamrita. जेबा नहीं बुझे के ह सुनीते सुनीते से ह कि अद्भुत चैतन्य चरित्र कृष्ण उपजीवे प्रीति जानिबे रसेर रीति सुनिलै बड़ा होए हित. That he says, you may think I don't know Bengali, I don't know the language, I don't know this culture, whatever. I don't understand. जेबा नहीं बुझे के ह. But still, सुनीते सुनीते से, you should keep hearing, because Chaitanya Charitamrita is ki adbhuta, very unique and very astonishing. And when you do that, Krishna upajibe priti, one will develop your priti towards Krishna. Janibe rasera riti, and one's understanding of the rasas of Krishna and bhakti, they enhance. Shunile bada hoye hita, and by hearing that, the devotee who is practicing Krishna consciousness is greatly benefited. And in the Adi Lila, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's glories are described that when one chants Krishna's holy name, offenses are considered. Right? But when one connects to Krishna through Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then the offenses are not considered. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so merciful. Bilaile jare tare, he just distributes without any kind of consideration. Niguda bhandar, bilaila yare tare. He just distributes that love treasure without considering any kind of qualification or disqualification. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared in this age specifically to deliver the most fallen. Ei rupe ya chandale kirtana sanchare nama prema mala ganti podela sansare. And when he distributes, he gives the garland of prema strung on the thread of Harinam. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya's mercy is especially for the fallen. So therefore, one who is more fallen, he gets more ecstasy in connecting with Chaitanya Charitamrita, because otherwise we have no hope of leading a life which is free from offenses and sin. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is our only hope. So that is one of the reasons why, because of hearing from His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and because Srila Prabhupada took a break in the 70s and translated the Chaitanya Charitamrita completely by taking Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's purports, commentaries and others in a period of 2 to 3 years, and the BBT devotees, they really went out of their way and within 2 months published and printed all of that through a marathon. So combined with all of that, when I also started taking up more and more responsibility in Krishna consciousness in the association of devotees, at one point you realize that there are various complexities which one experiences in this association, in the interactions, and there are many episodes in Chaitanya Charitamrita which is centered around interactions amongst the devotees, in the devotee community. And therefore the master's thesis which I just published with Mumbai University, with Mukunda Madhav Prabhu as my guide, through the Bhaktivedanta Research Center, is on the topic of the principles of community building as given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, especially during his stay in Jagannath Puri. So in the Madhya Lila, Anta Lila, those descriptions are there. So at a certain point, I felt I need to take shelter of understanding what are those principles which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given, which enables the stability of a community, the growth of a community, keeping devotees inspired in a community. Like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at some points would inspire the devotees through Harinam Sankirtan. At other points, he would also inflict certain strong, punishments on devotees like Chota Haridas. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would sometimes threaten, I would leave and go to Alarnath. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also had to face many situations where everything was not straightforward. Ramachandra Puri was subjecting Lord Chaitanya to great criticism, and Lord Chaitanya had to tolerate that criticism. Sarvam Bhattacharya's son-in-law Amogha was criticizing Lord Chaitanya. On one hand, he was serving Lord Chaitanya prasadam, telling him, please eat, and then he was criticizing. So these are not just pastimes, but these are episodes we also experience, where someone says something in front and does something behind. You are thinking someone is favorable, then they turn out to be unfavorable, and various situations manifest. And therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is an amazing repository, and one of the most powerful messages of Vyasadeva are contained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that becomes the bedrock for Lord Chaitanya also, that Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam. He accepted that as a Pramana. But the details of the nuances of the interactions in devotee community, which is closest to what we are experiencing today, is sometimes found in Chaitanya Charitamrita also. So I would say even Srimad Bhagavatam is extremely powerful. Like if you look at the Indra and the Prithu Maharaj episode, and the conflicts which happen. And when Prithu Maharaj is very angry and upset with, Indra stealing the horse and is about to kill him, Brahmaji comes and tells him that certain episodes will happen in life which is beyond your control. And if you just become angry, then you are just opening your doors to Tamogun and entering into hell. So you have to just tolerate. And similar situations where, like when Indra is, entering into the arena in front of Prithu Maharaj with Lord Vishnu. So Indra is the culprit, but Lord Vishnu is bringing Indra with him, and he is giving some advice to Prithu Maharaj on how he should be tolerant. Whereas Prithu Maharaj is the one who is innocent. The entire conflict was started and initiated by Indra. So Indra appears to be the culprit. Prithu Maharaj appears to be the innocent. Here are two avatars, and we may think that as practicing devotees we experience conflict. But then Srimad Bhagavatam brings a scenario where two avatars are having conflict. So this is not to inspire sadhakas to have more conflict. That if even avatars cannot prevent conflict, what to speak of us? But the point is, the nature of this world is the ego is so volatile that it can catch a flame any moment. And therefore, when Indra comes in with Lord Vishnu, Prithu Maharaj looks at him, and finally, all the advice which Vishnu is giving to Prithu is heard by Indra. And then ultimately he feels ashamed. Sprashantam padayor premna vridutum svena karmana shata kratu parishvajya vidvesham visasarjaha. So sprashantam padayoh premna, he falls at the feet of Prithu Maharaj, and as he is falling at the feet, Prithu Maharaj picks him up and embraces him. Sprashantam padayo prema vridutum, he feels very ashamed. Svena karmana, with his own mistake. So he himself feels that. So then you see one of the wonderful ways in which correction in behavior is affected by Lord Vishnu. So here is Brahma. He is giving advice to Prithu, pacifying him. Then Lord Vishnu comes and he is also giving advice to Prithu. And Indra is hearing that. So sometimes the ego becomes the barrier in hearing advice. And when you keep on giving advice to someone and that person keeps blocking with the gate of the ego, the advice doesn't enter. So here Vishnu is giving advice to Prithu. Indra is hearing that, but through parokshavad, he gets the understanding that actually I am supposed to follow this. So without affecting his ego, Lord Vishnu is generating that realization within Indra that I made a mistake. And therefore, that is the best form of correction, where the person themselves realize that we made some mistake. So therefore, vriditum means feeling ashamed. Svena karmana, with one's own mistaken actions. Shatakratu, which is Indra. And the whole episode of the conflict was centered around the 100th horse sacrifice. So Shatakratu Parishwajya, he is trying to fall at his feet, but Prithu Maharaj is picking him up and embracing him. And then the last line is very important. Vidvesham, which is, dvesha means envy. But vidvesham means a very specific directed envy, anger, and negative feelings towards a particular person. So all of us have experiences like this where we feel this person does not like me. He has a specific, negativity towards me. So that is called vidvesham. And I also have some specific negativity, anger or envy towards this person. So that is vidvesham. It is mutual. So Indra had a specific envy towards Prithu, and Prithu also had a specific anger towards Indra. So that was vidvesham vi sasarja. They gave it up. They both uprooted that. And Srila Prabhupada in that purport gives a fantastic explanation, and he says that the nature of this world is there will be conflict. But he says, when a person becomes Krishna consciousness, Krishna conscious, then his vision changes. So he looks from a top view, and the cause of that conflict does not appear as large and significant and important as when he was at the ground level looking at the conflict. And so Srila Prabhupada says that both Indra and Prithu had mutual envy, but because they both became Krishna conscious, they kind of both forgot for some moment. Even practicing devotees can experience episodes of forgetfulness, right? And in the 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, when Krishna is in the lap of Yashodamai and Trinavarta comes, and so Trinavarta is about to pick up Krishna, and before he comes, he unleashes a huge storm. And so the word used there is rajo. All the dust particles, they went all around and covered the eyesight of everybody.
Tamas.
Darkness.
So,
correct. So rajasa tamasa avritam. Rajasa tamasa avritam. So the rajas and tamas. Raja basically means all the dust particles created darkness which covered the vision of everybody around. But the acharyas explained that rajasa tamasa avritam not only means the dust particles, but also means desires. There are millions of particles of desires within our heart, impelled by mode of passion. So that mode of passion and the desires to enjoy and to think I am the controller, I am the proprietor, I am the enjoyer, which is the influence of mode of passion, it overwhelms our discrimination, covers our discrimination completely, and degenerates into tamogun and becomes the cause of conflict. Right? So therefore, at this moment, the conflict was caused by that 100th horse sacrifice. And Srila Prabhupada says, because both were Krishna's devotees, they both adjusted the cause of their envy. So this was very interesting, because Prabhupada does not say both overcame their envy or forgot about their envy or got purified. He says they adjusted the cause of their envy, which basically means that Krishna consciousness is a very important contribution to society. Spirituality is a major benediction to society, because it's through the power of genuine spirituality that we are able to adjust our perspectives by hiring our consciousness. And from higher consciousness, when we look down, then we realize that, okay, all of that cause of conflict was not really worth it. Then you make a cost-benefit analysis in a much better way and ultimately make choices in the mode of goodness. So therefore, what Krishna consciousness does is it purifies you of the mode of passion and mode of ignorance, and that confusion is removed and clarity is restored. And once you have clarity, then you have proper discrimination. And therefore, the modern education system is focused too much on Vijay, which is success. But Srimad Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Bhagavad Gita, our wisdom literatures, our Vedic literatures, they are focused on first Vinay, which is Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Amanitvam Adambitvam, which is humility. When there is Vinay, then there is Vivek, the proper discrimination. When you get the proper discrimination, then you know what to choose, what not to choose, what to pursue and what to let go. And that is called Vairagya, renunciation. So therefore, unless there is Vinay, Vivek and Vairagya, there cannot be long-term Vijay. So Vijay in the material world is all about getting some money, position, this, that, but the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Srimad Bhagavatam both focus on Vijay or success over Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. And Vijay is highlighted further in Chaitanya Charitamrita in terms of a sadhaka focused on getting prema as his purpose. And when you are focused on the purpose, then you are able to sacrifice pleasure. So therefore, Chaitanya Charitamrita highlights that further, that how a devotee is totally focused on the paradigm of success being absorption in the mood to serve. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent 18 years in Gambhira, completely absorbed in chanting the holy names of Krishna. And you see how he becomes totally indifferent to any kind of provocation. Ramchandra Puri is criticizing him. He's indifferent. Why? Because you're already on a different level. Rupa Goswami, he chastises Srila Jiva Goswami because he gets provoked by, one scholar who seemingly insults Rupa Goswami. And Jiva Goswami challenges him for a conflict. And Rupa Goswami says, Vrindavan is a place of contemplation, not conflict. And therefore, this is not a place for people who are subject to provocation. Vrindavan is a place for those who are pursuing the purpose of prema. If you are getting provoked, then you are not eligible. And so these episodes where the day-to-day struggles and challenges of the devotees are highlighted in texts like Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Acharya's, wonderful pastimes, the Acharya's Katha. So these are pulling us at a deeper level of emotions because we can relate with that virtually on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for such a comprehensive answer on the glories of Chaitanya Charitamrita and also highlighting Srimad Bhagavatam's way of enlightening us. As all of us know, Gauranga Prabhu is engaged in hundreds of services, is very busy. So we will discuss more. I have many questions to ask. I only asked 2 questions so far. We need to hear from Prabhu about his relationship with Radhana Swami Maharaj and his deeper realizations on studying Bhagavatam in the pre-internet era and also how he got a second chance of living after that car accident, how he made a decision where he has to practice bhakti and give the rest of his life completely to the Lord's service. And also all the principles that he spoke from Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam, he has actually demonstrated it. We need to dig deep into his realization and into his hearts to understand how he dealt with all these conflicting situations in life, in dealing with devotees. Thank you so much for watching this. And we'll continue this podcast with Gauranga Prabhu. There are many more things to learn from him. So we'll conclude. It will continue very soon. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.